Spicy Toast Gaming here, and thank you for tuning in to this week's game highlight. This week we're checking out Dune Spice Wars, and I must admit, out of all of the games I've highlighted on this channel so far, this is the one that I've been the most excited for. Now this game is a bit of a hybrid between a RTS and a 4X game. It's set in Frank Herbert's Dune universe. I personally love the Dune universe. I've read most of the books, and it's actually my favorite sci-fi universe. When I heard this game was coming out, which was a bit over a year ago, I was very interested, but was also worried that it was just going to be a random strategy game with a Dune coat of paint on it, and not actually a Dune game. I am exceedingly happy to report that that is not the case here. While it is still a fun and interesting strategy game, it's very much a Dune game. It heavily relies on the source material, and all of the gameplay elements tie back into the books. There are a few small areas in which the developers took some creative liberties or copied the recent movie over the book. The most obvious example, at least to me, is that they decided to change one of the main characters described in the books as tall, thin, and blonde man. They decided to change that into a black woman. Now, this doesn't really matter for gameplay or anything, but I just prefer when designers try to be as true to the source material as possible, which they do here in most situations. Now, you may be thinking that this game sounds great if you're already familiar with the Dune universe, but might not be so good if you know nothing about the universe. I don't think that that's the case here. It's still a very enjoyable strategy game, and will likely just make you interested in the universe, but you don't really have to have any prior knowledge to enjoy the game. Alright, enough preamble. How does this game actually play? Well, you start off with your base and a scout. From there, you need to explore the surrounding areas, expand your territory, collect valuable resources, the most important being spice, and then inevitably dominate the planet. During your matches, you can trade or even form truces with other factions, or raid and pillage their settlements. Now, there's actually many different ways to win in a typical match. You can be the first faction to gain a set amount of hegemony, which is basically a scoring system. You can destroy the capital city of the opposing factions. You can be voted governor of the planet. You can own a majority share in the Chome Company, which is essentially an economic victory. Or you can just straight up assassinate the leaders of the opposing factions. There are currently 5 factions in the game, with another one set to release in the next couple of months when the game launches into 1.0, or the full released version. Each faction has its own strengths and weaknesses, which makes them more likely to try to win in a certain way. If you wish to dominate through military might, then you probably want to play as the brutal Harkonnens, but if you prefer to win through political machinations, you might want to go for House Atreides or Carino. Due to all their differences, each faction feels very unique to play. There are currently 3 game modes: a standard and customizable battle with up to 4 factions, a smaller 1v1 duel, or the most recent addition, the Conquest mode, which is a multi-stage campaign with some roguelike elements. These campaign missions will have you trying to win in specific ways, and they'll often have special modifiers to the missions to spice things up. This mode makes the game highly replayable, as different matches can often play out quite differently. This game is still in early access, but like I mentioned earlier, they will be fully launching into 1.0 in the next few months. That update will be adding another faction, more additions to the Conquest mode, and further rebalancing to the game as a whole. After the game leaves early access, the devs have committed to keep updating the game with large free updates, and I think this game has a long, enjoyable road ahead of it. The developers behind this game, Shiro Games, have another strategy game called Northgard. That game released back in 2018 and has continued to receive both free updates and paid DLC. Overall, I think this is a very enjoyable game and worth picking up already. I got this game about 2 weeks ago, and in preparation for this video, I wanted to play a minimum of 12 hours so I could have a solid understanding of it. At this point though, I've put nearly 40 hours into it. As soon as I finish this video, I want to go back and play more. I'm thoroughly enjoying this game, and I expect to play it for hundreds of hours. I do have a warning though before you decide to buy it. This game is very complex. The game does have some tutorials, but those are just for the absolute basics. They're planning on adding more tutorials with the full release of the game, but that won't be for a couple of months. If you do get this game, start out on easy and go into the first couple of games with the mindset that you're just trying to figure things out. You're going to make mistakes, you're probably going to lose your first couple matches, but the game is definitely worth it if you have the patience to learn. It is a very complex game though, and that isn't for everybody. If you are interested in picking the game up, I have a link to their Steam page down below. If you wishlist the game, you'll get a notification whenever it goes on sale. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. Thank you to the developers for sending me a game key, and I hope you have a great day.